Jumping into game. Bronas versus Mout. Mout really looking for a win here. It's not the end of the day if you do drop this one, but would be very, very happy to be able to get a win on the board. Bronas, on the other hand, looking to cement himself as the first seed with an undefeated record. Let's see how it goes. Fiendsmith Engraver, about as good as it could get for a start, especially when it does not get interrupted. As Josh said earlier, though, maybe don't want to interrupt this so early on. Lurie actually not being sent here. It's Telemann's Fiendsmith.
It's a very good combination of two engines that really work well together.
They both love the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal of the Fiendsmith strategy is to summon Beatrice, the Eternal Lady.
Yeah.
And that will then eventually mill a Telement name, which can then perform a fusion summon to fusion summon Telemann's Kit Colors.
Yep. So Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, of course, just being able to help all of these graveyard-centric decks extend further. As you know, someone who played Flanderies in the previous Telements metagames with the Dimension Shifter really coming in handy a lot. I wonder how a lot of these decks deal with the Mirror Match or potential other Fiendsmith decks that are also not running any kind of interference on the graveyard plays. But speaking of interference, here's Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring.
Yeah, so the Telement strategy is especially strong against the Fiendsmith strategy if you play against it.
Yeah, for sure, because they don't want the graveyard to be unavailable to them. So
exactly, and also you can use the Ishizu cards to shuffle back the Telement cards. And now we see Bronas' hand, which is a really strong hand. It would have been a really strong hand going first.
Yeah, the skill drain in particular, of course, just locking off the monster effects. Nibiru punishing the commitment to too many summons, but that triple tactics talent was well timed and well thought out. It was a good response to the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and this is a great follow-up in the Telemann's Shiren. The combo continues. Kashtira sent to the graveyard, and another Kashtira Fenrir from the top of the deck. Not too important, but that Telemann's Shiren certainly is, and Telemann's Kashtira going alongside it. Just so many graveyard interactions here happening for Mout. Uninterrupted now.
Yeah, as you said, Mout can now uninterruptedly do his combo, summon all of his cards. He's gonna mill probably around 20 cards, I believe, which the Telement strategy wants to do to put up the most strong board that they can. And now we see Telemann's Kit Kalos, the 8th monster of the deck, being summoned.
Telemann's Kit Kalos, of course, as you mentioned. Telemann's Rhino Heart being added to the hand. So many Telemann's name in the graveyard, on the field, in the hand, just looking really good. It is night and day compared to the first game for this deck. Mout, he shook off the nerves. He's going to bounce back so far, but Bronas certainly not out of this one because, as you said, that was a brilliant hand, even if it did lose the Nibiru, the Primal Being, to the Triple Tactics talent. Speaking of losing some disruptions, though, there was the Called by the Grave, there was an Ash, there were a few things from Mout, but he's okay. He got the Havness.
We also milled a Fairy Tale Snow, which is a really strong type of interruption in the opponent's turn.
Yeah, sending the Fairy Tale Snow from the top of the deck to the graveyard, very, very valuable because you can then bring it back.
By banishing
face down.
7 cards from the field, hand or graveyard, face down to summon it, and then it has a Book of Moon type effect.
So there is the Real Colossus, which I don't believe we saw earlier. I think we just went straight into the Kaleido Heart. Can you tell me a bit more about the difference between the two when it comes to executing these combos?
So Rukalos is a card that you want to have on your end board to interrupt on the opponent's turn. It has an effect that's similar to Solemn Warning, as where your opponent uses an effect that would summon a card. You can send one Telements card from your hand or field to the graveyard to negate the activation. And what you can do is what most people are doing. You can send itself to the graveyard to then bring it back.
Yep, and there is the Fiendsmith Desiree on top of that to just run further disruption. It will negate 2 face-up cards, and in tandem with that disruption committed from the Real Colossus in the opponent's turn that you mentioned, does mean that we have a lot of good opportunities here for Mout to shut out Bronas' hand. Yes, it was looking good. Yes, we got rid of the Nibiru, the Primal Being, already, but Mout is not done yet.
And Mout can make his end board as he wants because he knows what Bronas has in his hand, so he can end his board the way so they interact with his hand cards. So now I believe we could go into an IP Masquerena.
The Telemann's deck has a really impressive field, a really impressive graveyard, and no hand.
So we're equipping the sequence.
Yes, we are, and that will, of course, be 2 face-up cards able to be negated.
And I think we're going to see an IP Masquerader now.
Yep, that would make sense because
Oh,
it
no.
does give the removal of the SP Little Knight.
It's a
But
little
speaking
late.
of SP Little Knight, a little bit earlier than we maybe expect, but there it is. Ready to banish. So basically, what I think is the rationale here is you want to immediately use the SP Little Knight to remove any kind of 1-card starter of a monster, and then you can save the Fiendsmith Desiree negation for a little bit later on. But Black Goat last actually was in the graveyard, and with the information that Mout was able to gain from seeing the hand thanks to the Triple Tactics talent, can perhaps just shut out anything Bronas might have gotten off of the top of the deck here.
So, as we know, Bronas had 1 Snake Eye Poplar, 1 Millennium Golem, and 1 Skill Drain, and he has 1 unknown card now. We shut down the Poplar by negating it with the Black God Lord.
Yep.
Let's see if Bronas can actually break this board. There's also a Fairy Tale Snow in the graveyard, which is an additional type of interruption.
Yep, so that will be a flip face down on a face up monster and could very well spell the end of a single card combo started off of a potential monster. But right now, looks to be okay. But Golem that guards the Millennium Treasure is now put in the Spell and Trap God Zone. No Sengenjin Wakes from the Millennium.
So Poplar hits the field with no effect because of the Black God Last.
But it is still a single material that Bronas does need to start off his combo. Relinquished Anima, not in a column with anything else, so it cannot take something. Still live in fear of that, by the way, just always playing around it. Much like the potential impermanence column.
We can now summon a Snake Eye Doom Dragon by sending the 2 cards in our Spell and Trap Zone to the graveyard.
Is that enough though? And keep in mind, I believe the SP Little Knights effect is still available if we need it.
It is. But once the Snake Eye Doom Dragon hits the board, you have to be aware that we have one of the strongest monsters on the field right now, and together with Skill Drain, that might be really tough to out. So I think that will be... Now we have to chain something to this.
Yep, so Fiendsmith Desiree, of course, will try to negate that effect to protect the Telements Royal Kalos, but that does mean we've now committed the potential 2 negations just to a single one. But that's okay, you've also got the Relinquished Anima. Granted, it wasn't doing much this turn. Telements Royal Kalos Disruption still online. Can you walk me through Telements Royal Kalos and what the disruption specifically is?
So against... We know that Bronas is playing Snake Eyes as we saw Snake Eye Poplar, so we could negate cards like Original Sinful Spoils because it's an effect to summon a card.
Yeah.
We could negate the summon effects of Snake Eye Ash and Oak, and also the normal summon effect or the special summon effect of Snake Eye Oak.
Yeah.
There are a lot of effects that we can negate which are really strong. This looks really tough now for Bronas, knowing that he has to clear a part of the board at least this turn. Because otherwise, Mout's follow-up would be too strong. We have the Fiendsmith cards, we have Snow in the graveyard, it is gonna be too much.
Yep, the Snake Eyes Doom Dragon now just being on the field. I guess we could swing into the Desiree, but presumably the SP Little Knight will just resolve its effect.
I think now what Mout is gonna do, he's gonna chain to the attack his Fairy Tale Snow to flip the Snake Eye Doom Dragon face down.
Yep, there you go. You read it like a book, a fairy tale book.
To protect the SP, because the SP still didn't use its effect and it's an additional interruption. We also flip...
There's a lot of Ash Blossoms. Okay, yeah, like
Snake Eye
all
Doom
of the
Dragon face
hand
down.
disruptions just getting banished after they were sent from the top of the deck to the graveyard.
So Bronas can't also link away the Doom Dragon because it's face down after this effect
Yep.
resolves.
So it does mean pretty much the sequence of plays is over. Granted, the Relinquished Anima is still there. Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoil is going to be used here.
Wanted is a good card to have here. So what Bronas theoretically could do is he could... So I think he's gonna send the Snake Eye Doom Dragon off to the Belstar.
Yep. And then you have access to some Link 2s at least, if necessary.
Which is something that works, by the way. It's a very odd scenario to send a face-down monster for your Snake Eye Belstar.
Yeah.
But it is something that can happen, as we are just seeing now.
There is Diabellstar the Black Witch. there will be a search of the deck for a Sinful Spoils spell trap.
I think here we have to train our SP Little Knight as Mout does correctly.
Yep.
By
So
banishing the anima. And now we know that Bronas has a skill drain left at hand, and our Telements Root colors can negate whatever Bronas is setting face down.
Yep, because the original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye will summon a monster, or rather attempt to summon a monster. This Telements Rule Colors can run interference. Is there anything Bronas can do to make a comeback here? Because this is looking scary now.
So the Rule colors will come back
Yep.
by its own effect. Wanted is gonna give us another draw.
A single card. What could it be?
I can't maybe imagine a triple tactic talents being a good draw, but it seems like it's nothing that we can use now. So 2 cards face down.
Imagine, well, one of them for sure is the skill drain, and then mystery card on the other hand. 0 attack on that relinquished anima.
And it is theoretically game on board at the moment. We also have Desiree to negate.
Yep, we do, depending on what the other face down is. Fiendsmith Engraver in the graveyard, going to special summon itself. But there is Crossout Designator. You can declare Fiendsmith Engraver, but I don't think it will save you, Bronas.
So yeah, now Mout knows that there's only a skill drain left, and the skill drain is not going to save Bronas in this scenario.
Even if none of your monsters can activate their effect, at the moment they have enough attack points, more than enough attack points, just to cleanly close this one out. Mout, despite dropping that initial game, has managed to make his comeback. Well, presumably will manage to make his comeback. Giving it a moment, Bronas is considering.
Well, it's not gonna matter anyway, so Mout is going to attack directly with the Little Knight, followed by the Desiree and the Rukalos.
Bronas flips the skill drain. And it gets interacted with regardless. The Desiree will negate it. And Mout manages to make a comeback, manages to say this group is still up for grabs, this group is still in question. Bronas, that undefeated record lasted for 1 game. Mout managed to take it.
Yeah, we saw how strong the Telements strategy can be, especially in combination with the Fiendsmith engine.
Yeah, for sure, and Telements in particular into this format. You know, we spoke about how much the graveyard was favored and how there's that lack of commitment to shutting it off with the likes of your Dimension Shifter or the decks that favor it. And therefore, just Telements, when allowed to play with the graveyard, when allowed to send as many cards as they essentially want from the top of the deck to the graveyard, are just able to claim that one pretty convincingly.
Yeah, even though Snake Eye is really popular in this format, I also believe that Telements is really strong, as we just seen. The deck has so many pushes through like multiple layers of interruptions, so you can always extend after your, like, let's say you summon Rhino that gets interrupted.
Yep.
You can then extend with a Sharon, with an Engraver, with a Tract. You can even like have Telements Grief. There are so many like pushes that the deck has, so I believe it's a really good pick. And I think it's also like not that it wasn't that expecting.
I think so, yeah. Just really comfort pick for Mout here. But why don't we hear what he has to say about the Telements deck? Over to you, Ed.
Thank you, Ibris. Yes, I am here with Mout, who's just claimed his first win here at the tournament, which is always very exciting. How are you feeling now you've got a win under the belt?
I had a big stress, and after winning, it decreased a little bit. Yeah, so I made some mistakes under the pressure, but my hand was good enough to make up for this.
It absolutely did, and you clawed that win back. Let's talk about your deck, because actually, I'm not going to say what your second deck is, but you've brought some interesting choices compared to, you know, just Fiendsmith, Snake Eyes and things which everyone seems to be playing. What was the reason behind choosing Telements, for instance?
Because it's really nice gameplay with this deck. I enjoy really playing with it. I know Snake Eye is a better choice if I want to win, but I'm not inspired with it, even if I can play with it. And Elements is a dopamine rush every time.
Well, I'm glad that dopamine has carried you to a win. Perhaps we'll get a chance to see your other deck in the final. I'm interested to see how that does, but shh, until then, it's a secret. I won't spoil anything. Congratulations, though, Mout. Your next opponent will be Mist. Do you think you can beat Mist and make your way into the final?
I guess in this format, yeah, we always have a chance to win in the best of one. And I will do my best.
That's all we can ask for, Mout. I hope you do well. Congratulations again on getting the win. Guys, your next match that you're going to be seeing is going to be Bronas versus... No, that's what we just had. Sorry, Quantal versus Kaito. And so why don't we have a quick look at a Quantal